jab. Strive to be a good person first, then be a good fighter. Winning without fighting, okay, that means using your head. I don't mean headbutt, but I mean in a way of thinking, manipulating, confusing the other person to get rid of him somehow, whatever. And the last resource is then obviously use your skills. Net. Does it. Unchanged. I was born in Iran, Tehran. Initially, my goal was to reach my highest level of potential. I started martial arts around the age of 10, 11. I was introduced to martial arts with my brother, who came back from the first martial art movie being shown on cinemas in Iran. He also made a homemade nunchaku for himself with the chain and 2 heavy pieces of wood. So I would pick that up and practice a little bit just to have fun with it. And one of my friends asked me, we got to watch this new martial art movie. It was Enter the Dragon, but still didn't motivate me to get into martial art training. It was actually a book that I read talking about the monk sitting in front of the mountains. The mountains were behind him and his students were in front of him. And one of his students said, "Master, when would an individual know that he or she has reached the height of his or her potential?" And the master replied, when the person say mountain move, and the mountain moves, then at that moment, the person knows that he has reached the height of his or her potential. And as the master said that, the mountain behind him started moving. So the master turned around and he said, "Mountain, stop. I just made the example. I didn't ask you to move." So the mountain stopped. That was like a massive enlightenment. Almost immediately, I wanted to do something, to reach the height of my potential. But connecting that book to that movie, I wanted to be a great martial artist. I wanted to be a grandmaster in martial arts as such. So that was the trigger, that was the wake-up call, really. In martial arts, Hapkido, Taekwondo, Samrang-do, Judo, the do at the end in Japanese and in Koreans means the way. So the do means the way. And then reading that book, that was a sign showing me where the do in my life was. So it was not much about fighting, more about finding my way and reaching my full potential and realizing and becoming aware of the do for me, for my life, which was the martial arts, obviously. Welcome to the class this evening. Ready stance, courtesy bow, os. I started my martial arts with Olympic wrestling. That's the most popular. It's known as freestyle wrestling. There is Greco wrestling and then there is freestyle wrestling, which is part of the Olympic Games. And that's where nearly everybody starts in Iran. They start with, we claim that's our national sport, especially the freestyle wrestling. MMA, the mixed martial art, which is very popular now, would be very, very first ever martial arts in Persian and the Greek time. That would be the sport of every young man, which would be more like the MMA today. So, she, go. Around that time, there was a massive revolution in Iran. The Shah was overthrown and the Ayatollah took over. A lot of activities were stopped. If you can imagine, after the revolution, There was no proper federations or commission to run competitions and things like that. But the clubs were open and they were active, and we did a lot of challenge between clubs. So a few people from my clubs would go to another club and challenge their fighters, and some of their fighters would come to our club and we would have a challenge, and it would be 7-a-side or 10-a-side or something like that. And going back that far, the health and safety wasn't very popular at that time. So a lot of times we wouldn't have any foot pads or shin pads or any protection gear, no helmets. It would be very tough, very painful afterwards, and maybe a couple of injuries would occur as well. A few years later, I entered a national competition in knockdown karate, which is also known as Kyokushinkai, which is in all forms of karate is more of a full contact karate as opposed to semi-contact or ippon komite karate, which is a controlled sparring discipline. But this one is full contact, but you're not allowed wearing any paddings or any protection. So it's very, very tough. So that was the first kind of major competition that I entered, and I won the gold medal in my own weight division. I remember going back, my brother was there in my corner. We went home, and obviously he was proud. He was holding the medal and showing it to everybody, and my mother was delighted, and she was talking about it for months after. To any visitor would come to our house, the first thing he would show would be my medal. So that was the start of my competition career. Physically, if you're a competitor, you have to train in a way that when you step inside the ring and you look at the other person in the other corner, you know for sure that no way he or she could have trained any harder than you. You've put your body under such a training regime that you challenge yourself so much that no way the other guy over the other side could have trained anyway. Not possible. That not a human being could train any harder than that. So that would be the physical preparation. Martial sports are more about competitions and winning and improving as an athlete. Martial arts are about well-being and self-defense. Okay, obviously everybody have look, when somebody grabs you with one arm, they could be punching, they could punch or strike with the other arm, so you have to be very careful. But if I move quick enough, one, hold them back. Also, when somebody grabs you like this, they might be aiming for the throat. So you hold them this way, head on there, and again, spin and walk away again without doing any strikes. Okay. Of course, you can strike if you wanted to. Okay, so good job. They asked the most famous Japanese samurai his secret to win and survive 100 life and death challenges. His name is Miyamoto Musashi. He's the writer of the famous book, The Book of Five Rings. His secret to be successful in all those 100 life and death challenges was that he was able to stay calm, clear, and focused when he was fighting. set, net, dozen. It's all about focus. Teach my children the same kind of a mental attitude. تکنیک تنفسی هم که تکنیک این مدیتیشن هم میدونین که 8 ثانیه تنفس به داخل، 8 ثانیه تنفس رو نگه میداریم، 8 ثانیه هم تنفس به بیرون از طریق بینی و 8 بار این تکنیک تنفس و مدیتیشن رو انجام میدیم. حاضر؟ Martial art is very good in terms of goal setting and goal achieving. So every belt is a short-term goal, a black belt is a long-term goal, and then becoming a master and then becoming a grandmaster, obviously that's the dream. When I came to Bray, just looking at the seafront, Bray Head and the cliff walk, as an athlete or as a martial artist, it was a heaven. I had the sea to swim in, I had the seafront to do my 100-meter sprints, I had the cliff walk to do my long jog. During my competition career, especially full contact kickboxing, I would almost every second day jog in the morning, just up and down the Bray Head for my preparation, and it was fantastic just to have them like in a couple of minutes walk away from where I lived. So since then I've been glued to Bray. I opened up the first club in Fatima House when I came to Bray in 1987. At that time, my English was very, very poor. I didn't have much money. So we rented out the function room in Fatima Hall, which was a wooden floor with a lot of chairs around it. And I remember the first few months even, I only had enough students just to pay the rent. I had to work as a bouncer in nightclubs just to fund the club. Every year I've been growing bigger and stronger. Through martial arts, I have traveled around the world a couple of times by competing, then the later stage conducting seminars and lectures, and have made friends in every country in the world, and have students in some of those countries that they're very successfully teaching and training. So it's been a fantastic journey so far.